Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz. If you're new, welcome, and I hope this video finds you well. Yes, I hope it finds you well. So today I am going to talk about loneliness. Loneliness because it is that season and time where a lot of us are out partying, meeting friends, family. And so if you find yourself single, you find yourself away from your family, you find yourself in some sort of dilemma, drama, and so you've removed yourself, well, I think this video will do you wonders, okay? So, loneliness. Why do I want to talk about loneliness? Because a lot of us or mostly everyone at one point in their lifetime is going to experience some level of loneliness. Loneliness by way of maybe losing a loved one, moving away, all of their friends, they've lost them, whatever. We all experience some type of loneliness at one time or another. And sometimes even more than once throughout our lifetime. And so it is not new. It is something that we all go through one way or another. And so if you're watching, please give yourself some grace, especially if this is a new experience for you, and definitely especially if you lost a loved one. I am going to talk about loneliness with a Christian perspective because that is my background. I am a believer of Yeshua, Jesus Christ. And so you may, if you're not a Christian, hear a bit of a Christian perspective. But I still think this video can be beneficial to anyone that watches this, regardless of faith. So, what do you do when you are lonely? So for me, a little background story, I felt the maximum weight of my loneliness maybe about 5 years ago. And at that time, I was in a sort of roommate situation. So in my lonely season, regardless of the people around me, and we were loud, we would go out, I was feeling lonely. Now, there was a little bit of there was a little bit of drama. So at the back of my mind, I thought maybe it is this drama that is going on where it seems like I'm the odd one out and so forth. So maybe that's why I'm experiencing this. But no. I was in my season as much as try to remain connected, as much as I joined in the discussions, I was still feeling internally lonely. And so I found myself withdrawing to my room in solitude, listening to gospel music. And so I try to, get myself involved, but it wasn't working. I talked to two people that I actually respected at that time of the same background. I was like, listen, this is what I'm going through. And internally, I don't know, there's just this force for me to actually physically leave my roommate situation. I honestly, I was in denial. I stayed in this situation for more than 2 months. But then there was a time that it was just like, no, you gotta go. Loneliness season came. And so I went back to my parents. But at this time, when I was in that, whether emotional, spiritual, whatever you will call it, season, it was, now that I look up at it, I think it was wonderful. That's why I'm saying that loneliness also sometimes, again, excluding the difficult situations such as depression, losing a loved ones, can actually be great and beneficial for you. It was wonderful now that I look at it because not only was the thoughts in my mind, the holy grail, the know-it-all, the absolute truth of things that I knew about things being now questioned and, me reflecting on my actions, but God was removing these holy grails that I thought were the truth. okay, and putting in that absolute truth, which is his word, and giving me knowledge and wisdom to things that honestly, maybe I stared at it at one point, but it never really sunk in. So all of these thoughts, all of these understanding that I had about myself, about life, how things should be, was gradually being removed and God putting in his absolute truth. At the same time, I was also being taught and learning to forgive. I was actually in that process of forgiving people and letting go, forgiving and letting go. And in this season, I did mourn. So if you are mourning, yeah, I did mourn. I mourned the loss of friends. This is the most lonely time I've ever experienced. I was coming out of groups and relationship friends that I had like for 10, 15 years. These are friends I grew up with. And so it was very hard. So I mourned. Now I'm pausing here because I want to let you know that if you are mourning, you are in that lonely season and you are mourning, do mourn and accept that you are in this situation, you are in this lonely season. Many times how should I put this? Loneliness is uncomfortable. And we live in a time where it's like we're all social. You have to be social. That's how most of us, our job is. This is how things work. And so it can be very uncomfortable if you are at this point and stage in your life. But if you are watching me and you are going through that season, it is okay. People experience it. And back to my main point, don't force it out of the way. Don't get yourself involved in things to get rid of it. No, you need to go through that lonely season. If that is what you are in, you need to be in that season. Be careful in terms of, like I said, trying to get rid of it, because it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow. Sometimes the relationships we get in to get rid of what we are feeling, that lonely season, 2 years down the line, 2 months, 3 months, that relationship can be detrimental to ourselves. And so that's why I'm saying that if you are in that season, allow yourself to go through that valley, go through that uncomfort, go through the process, and don't add, in the process of you trying to make yourself feel better, add more damage to yourself or add more unpleasantness to yourself. And I find most times when you're lonely, like you even force yourself in those relationships. So you're not authentically being you. You're just forcing yourself to be liked or forcing yourself to get rid of that feeling that I find that most times you're not really your true self. So yes, don't force yourself to get rid of it. Go through the process and find comfort. I know this video may be everywhere, but please, there's gems in here. Find comfort in things that you do like doing while you are in this season. So for me, when I was at this mourning or lonely season in my life, what did I do? I heavily relied on God. I prayed more. I fasted more. I did cry also, but I also watched home shows, HGTV, because I love home shows, and Flip to Fabulous, all of those great shows. I watched it. Those were things that brought me comfort, and I listened to gospel music. So do things that you like doing or you love doing and you've always loved doing, right? You always love doing, either doing alone or maybe if it's joining workout groups, things that you do and you love doing. Do that while you are in this season. And also believe that there is another way out. I know when you're in it, you're like, what the is this feeling? It's uncomfortable. I'm lonely. I've never been this lonely, but it will pass. So, 3 points. Accept that you are in this season. Don't force relationships. Don't force yourself into things. Do things that genuinely bring you comfort. So, working out. Maybe you loved reading. For me, again, I'm a Christian. I read the Bible. I listen to gospel music. Do things genuinely that makes you, gives you comfort and makes you happy. And believe that there is another side to this season in your life. It is but a season. There is a Bible verse that says that there's a time for everything. This is the time that you're going through, and there will be a turn, and you will be right back in another time in your life. But believe that this season will end, but will end happily. The reason why I say end happily is because during this season, you are shedding things like I mentioned earlier with my thoughts, Holy Grail thoughts, and I forgave people. I was reflective of myself, of my actions, and what ended up happening because I was lonely. I gave myself in more and I submitted myself more to God, that there were testimonies. So when I say happily for me, there was testimonies, because I know that we say Allah when we come to Christ, that I submitted, I gave my life to God and so forth. But at this stage, I honestly fully believe that that was the most submitting that I think I ever did. I actually felt that I was, because I was, I guess, essentially almost like broken. And so it's like all I had was God, and I gave myself all to God. So when I talk about submitting, I was fully in, I was fully immersed in God at this time. And so He had my attention. He had my heart. He had my ears, right? And so I was able to fully experience Him more, and for Him to turn things and fine tune things that were not to my benefit. And so what happened when I did submit and I did hear, I did listen, my thoughts did change. Testimonies happened. All right. Here I was, like maybe you thinking, what is this? Nothing is going right. I'm lonely, this, and that. But I didn't know that there was testimonies. That's why I'm telling you happily. If you acknowledge it, you don't force relationships. You don't force it out. But you do things while you're alone to give you a bit of comfort, and you allow that process. You will get to that end of that season where things will end happily. For me, what happened? For me, I fully came to an understanding that I was better off. And I believed and trusted that there is that good story at the background. And it did. It did happen. And not boosting, but it happened so swiftly that, I mean, prayers were heard so swiftly too. That was like the most amazing time of my life in terms of God. And I mean, I've had testimony, I experienced things, but just that time, I mean, the things I seen, the things I experienced, the things I felt, there was no other. And so, although difficult, although hard, and although very lonely, it was beneficial for me. And I believe that it can be beneficial to you, and it will be beneficial to you if you submit and you allow that process and you don't force things on yourself to get rid of it. All right. So loneliness is not always so bad. Loneliness can be good for you. And so if you are lonely, you are not alone. I think that's one point I want to get out there. You're also not alone. There's probably a lot of us out here feeling, especially with this season, feeling lonely, but you are not alone. I'm here virtually. I've experienced it. There's somebody somewhere, Samantha, someone, Mike, somebody going through some level of loneliness right now, and it's not your fault. And there will be a time and a season where you will look out and look to yourself, be like, wow, I can't believe I went through that process, and I am better, I am healed, I am more forgiving, things has turned around. I no longer need this person to be happy. I no longer need to smoke to be happy. I want better for myself. I am more motivated to do maybe something that I put at the back burner for so long. So embrace this season and allow the process. But just know that you're not alone, and give yourself some grace. Give yourself the time. Give yourself the opportunity to go through this process to heal. You know, there's some level of healing that no one can heal except God. There's some level of healing that no amount of surrounding yourself with people will get to, right? And so I think that's all I want to say in terms of loneliness, and in terms of, what you can do during this season. And don't hate it. Don't hate it. If you do feel like going out for that walk, going to maybe that one party, do so, but don't be so adamant to get rid of it that you cover up the wounds, or you try to cover up the season where you don't fully get through the process to reach where you need to get to. So yeah, I think that's it today. It is my first video. Hopefully my thoughts will clear up well as I continue to do this. This is also new to me. So thank you for watching, and I will see you back here again. All right, bye.